The greatest adventure is what lies ahead.
Hello, Internet. Are you not entertained? Gird your loins.
Strap on your sword.
Lace up your sandals.
Head to the tanning salon.
Because this week on the Desert Island Institute of Film, we are serving up adventure.
Danger's my middle name.
Mighty heroes.
Beautiful women.
Gods and goddesses.
Boats and battles.
Wizards and warlocks.
In other words,
the top 7 swords and sorcerer movies. Dun dun dun.
Yeah. Insert pithy, witty clip here.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Because the movies can be the same. I just want one title.
Yes.
To give to the people.
Yes.
To the masses.
All right. We're glad you're here. I'm Dr. Paul.
I'm Diet Dr. Paul.
What a loser. Get a friend, loser.
And father, son, figure out which one is which.
Smart.
Yes.
Oh my God, that is funny!
If you watched all of the stuff he just edited out, you know the question of that.
You want a war? Well, you got one! Game on, asshole!
We come to you every single week, new episode dropping on Thursdays. We just talk about movies and we have fun doing it. We like being together. And the same way that you talk about movies with your friends. But our ultimate goal is to turn you on to something that maybe you've never seen, maybe never heard of.
I don't think there's anything too filthy for me.
Me neither.
Or to get you to think about something in a different way.
Ignorance is bliss.
Step outside your comfort zone.
That's right. And that's really easy here because we have this generational difference. I'm pretty certain a lot of my films are probably going to be, if the average age, I'm going to think they're significantly younger than yours.
What? What do you mean? Your movies?
Mm-hmm.
You think so?
I think so.
They're younger?
Yes. No. Younger meaning, yeah, you're right.
Cool.
Yeah, really. I don't understand half the crap they talk about in there. Way too complicated.
See, I did this as a child.
He's got a child's mindset.
I did this.
A child's brain.
Where was I sitting? As a child.
I've got cream pies, trinkle tots.
Twinkle tots!
Oh, the Southern Theater.
The Southern Theater, Columbus, Ohio, baby. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Initial thoughts about this episode, how you approached it?
Well, you could see, I think for me, I think this was something that I think was really at its height in the 70s. So a lot of the movies that, war nights and that kind of thing, I think its sort of heyday was the 80s, or that's where it got its big start. And I think because of the music. And there's some silly movies that came out, but there's also some really good ones too. I think that some of these are going to be obvious. A few of them should be obvious.
How many do you think we're going to overlap?
Maybe 1 or 2, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
We do the 7. He doesn't know my 7, and I don't know his 7, and sometimes we match. I think. Want me to start this one?
Yeah. Whoa, pause it right there. Real quick before we get into this week's countdown, I wanted to introduce a new segment here at the Desert Island Institute of Film, where each week we're going to pick one lucky viewer to share a movie recommendation. That way, it'll help you guys get a little more involved with things here at the channel. And this week we have a very special guest picker. I'm going to throw it over to Dante for our D-list celebrity pick of the week.
What's up, everybody? Comedian Dante Carter here. Picture of Adam Sandler that he autographed and sent to me. I think it's in my hand before I tried it. Anyways, I don't want to brag. I was on David Series podcast. Anyways, listen, I'm doing the celebrity pick'em of the week, the A-list celebrity pick, and I decided to go with a film by Mel Brooks, comedian great, called Robin Hood, Men in Tights. It's one of my favorite movies, and it is hilarious. Thank you, guys.
All right, I'm going to go with my number 7, which is Hercules, 1958. All right. Now,
Who plays Hercules in that?
Steve Reeves.
Okay.
All right. There are a ton of Hercules movies. And this was actually the first. There was a much earlier one, but it was like in the 30s, but it was Hercules was it doesn't really count. I don't want to get into it. This really was the first screen appearance of Hercules, and Steve Reeves as a child, when you sit and watch, it's an Italian production. Most of the early Hercules films were all shot in Italy. It was kind of like they had spaghetti westerns, and then they had these Hercules films. There was, in fact, shortly that next year, Hercules in a Haunted World came out, and I almost picked that one, directed by Mario Bava with Christopher Lee, not as Hercules. But this is, you have to see this.
I think you should do Christopher Reeve instead of Christopher Reeve.
Yeah, did I say Christopher Reeves?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Christopher Lee.
Christopher Lee. Or maybe you did say Christopher Lee.
Whatever. That would be horrible.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I made it worse.
No. It was, you have to imagine what it was like to be a prepubescent child and to see this guy who was just carved like anything you'd ever seen. I'd never seen muscles like that. And doing all the action things that he does, the classic, poster is a chain in each side, and he's pulling kind of stuff.
Pulls them from the columns.
Yeah, and it is aged much better than I would have expected, because it is, while it's not particularly highly rated in terms of things like IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes, I was surprised how many lists it was in the top, sword and sorcery movies, or sword and sandal movies, if you prefer. So people, and fairly highly rated. But for me, I just think it was very sweet.
I think Hercules is a poster child for sword and sorcery movies.
Really?
So I didn't have one on my list, but I often went back to, my mind would go back to scenes from those movies, even the newer one with Jason Momoa in it, which is it's an okay movie.
Yeah.
Okay, that was your number 7. My number 7, and this is a little weird one, but it's so good I had to put it on here, and that is 1975's Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Terry Gilliam, baby. It's just a good movie.
We are the Knights of Ni.
Now we are the knights who say, "Icky, icky's a pang, boing." Oh man, what a good movie. If you've not seen any Monty Python stuff, this is a good entry into that world. It's sort of sketch-ish comedy from Europe in the 70s, but like John Cleese and Eric Idle and the whole crew. And man, it's just so good. The horses with the coconuts, and they're just so quotable. I'm just saying, I could go on and on about it. There's Spamalot the musical from developing from this, but it's a great movie. It
is best seen, I think, on a big screen with a bunch of your friends. It really is. I didn't even think of that kind of thing, and I see that it fits in the whole thing. It is, it's delightful.
I never saw it on any single list at all.
Yeah, and I like it. So, and probably from your generation, it's less of a, it resonates. So,
but I think it doesn't lose anything.
Yeah,
I think you can, no matter kind of how old you are, I think you should be able to watch it and enjoy it.
Yeah,
pretty well open.
Well, good. I never thought of it, but now that you mention it, makes me want to go watch it again. I mean, there's some things that just make you laugh so hard. It's kind of in the same vein as some of Mel Brooks' work that's
Mhm.
kind of on the absurdist side.
Mhm.
And then who are the brothers that did the Airplane and those kind of films and
Oh yeah, yeah. I know
Police
what you're talking
Squad
about. Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
thing, Don't Call Me Shirley kind of thing.
Naked
It
Gun.
really is it's very witty kind of stuff, but
Perfect,
but British.
perfect Mel Brooks
Yeah.
reference there. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. My number 6 is The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, 1958. Is it on your list?
No, but it almost was.
There are a lot of people who think that this is Ray Harryhausen did a lot of these movies, these sword and sorcery
Jason and the
type
Argonauts.
and there are some people that think that this is like the greatest that's ever made.
Mhm.
I really, really like it, and but the difference between that and say Jason and the Argonauts is I think is the story in Jason is more compelling and holds up. And this story, you sort of move from action piece to action piece with all of the various creature effects that Ray Harryhausen did. It was directed by a guy named Nathan Jurin, and he did a lot of TV that I noticed, including Daniel Boone, Land of the Giants, Lost in Space, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, and that is my childhood right there. Less so Daniel Boone. That was a little bit, probably my grandfather's, my father's,
Daniel
age.
Boone.
Yeah, but no, I think it was delightful. When Ray Harryhausen died, I happened to be in San Francisco at the time, and I think I've mentioned before there's a revival house theater called Castro Theater, and they do amazing things, and they did a retrospective celebrating the life of Harryhausen, and this was the lead film on it. And it's so nice to see these old movies on a big screen because I liked it, but I'd only seen it before on a DVD.
Mm-hmm.
To see it on the big screen made me like it even more.
I've seen that and Jason the Argonauts quite a bit as a kid. I like those Harryhausen stop action animation, but I have not seen them in probably 20 years, so I just didn't put them on. I didn't kick them off or anything because of that, because I felt like maybe they have lost something in that time, so I didn't. But they're very watchable movies, at least from my perspective as a kid.
I think I have the Blu-ray of Jason the Argonauts you can borrow. When people your age or younger see the stop action, what do you think they just turn it off?
I think it just depends on the person. It's possible. It could be a possible turn off for sure for people.
Yeah. Your life is less rich by not exposing yourself to some of these movies that look you have to see them through the eyes of the time period. And that's why we talked before ad nauseum about if it has subtitles, people don't want to watch it. If it's black and white, people don't want to watch it. But you are missing out on some real rich experience that in some ways can change your life. And I don't overstate that at all, but some of these films are so great that they will profoundly change how you see the world and how you see yourself. Not 7 Voyages of Sinbad, but you gotta, and these are great for those of you that decide to have kids. Be careful. These are great movies to watch with your kids. I mean, they're family friendly kind of stuff, and it's rare. I mean, the best of the Disney movies and the ones I'm blocking on the name, the Apple stuff. Who's the other?
DreamWorks or
no,
Pixar?
Pixar. I'm sorry. My mind's not as sharp. The best of those films are films that they appeal to both the young and the old.
Absolutely.
For different reasons. And I think for this, the kids are going to just sit there and be amazed at the monsters and that kind of stuff. You're going to be amazed. It's the story and the mythos. A lot of Greek mythology in these.
Because I can attest that I'm pretty sure that's why we were watching it, because you can enjoy it, and I'd be all about, the monsters,
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, good.
Not a bad pick. Not a bad pick at all. All right. Number 6 for me. And this is a home run, and I'll tell you already. Number 6 is 1992's Army of Darkness. Get some. Sam Raimi's Sword and Sorcerer Supreme. It's a perfect sword and sorcery movie. It is exactly what you're looking for. And he's got a shotgun in it.
That's not a sword.
Yeah, but he has a chainsaw.
That's not a sword either.
Well, other people have swords.
Yeah. So the definition of sword and sorcery is fluid in your world.
No. There's sorcerers and there's swords. Just because there's a sawed-off shotgun and a chainsaw too, doesn't mean that it's somehow not a part of this realm any longer.
Isn't that special?
But
it's a great film.
It's a perfect film.
It is.
Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell, Embeth Davidtz, which I'm not sure if I even spelled that properly. But it absolutely falls in line. Get out of here with that nonsense.
No, it is an amazing. It's my favorite film in the Evil Dead trilogy. I wouldn't have the courage to look into the internet and put it on my list of top 7 sword and sorcery films.
Why wouldn't you?
Because it's not a sword and sorcery film.
What makes it not so?
Because there's no swords. There's not enough swords.
There's a giant battle with knights.
Yeah, but he's got a shotgun.
He has a shotgun at the end.
And he has a chainsaw.
Yeah, it's called a boomstick.
Yes. No, that was a very brave choice.
That's a great choice. It's a home run. It's already out of here.
It is a great story. My number 5, Clash of the Titans, 1981.
Okay.
When you look at this from the outside, your first thought is, my first thought, somebody must have owed somebody something in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
Because the cast on this is so unusual for a film that's like sort of a fantasy film. You know, first of all, you had Harry Hamlin, and I believe that was his they introduced him in that. But you got Maggie Smith, Ursula Andress, Burgess Meredith, and one of the greatest actors who ever lived, Laurence Olivier. And they're all yet in this thing, and you keep thinking, how did they get somebody of such magnitude to be in a film that's essentially Greek mythology, where you have Perseus that is having to save Princess Andromeda, and there's all types of. It's the same thing. It's got updated special effects in terms of the Medusa that's done. It has that 1950-60 feel. When you watch it, you call back to the Seventh Voyage.
It says from 81?
Yeah.
I don't know if I've seen that one.
You've talked before about heavy metal, right? And I don't know, and I couldn't tell you, but it seems to me it's kind of in the same sort of time period when films are coming out like that. The Poster kind of deal.
Deathstalker.
Yeah, but you've never seen that? I never showed it.
I mean, maybe I have. I just I can't remember it. When I think Clash of the Titans, I think about the one from like 2010.
Yeah,
which is it's an okay watch. It's not bad.
Did you think when I said it was going to be the one from 2010?
No, not at all. No,
because I'm old.
No, I just know you probably wouldn't have liked that one.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, it's cool from the aspect of you get to see some of the monsters and the mythology on the screen, but it's not a great movie by any stretch.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Numero 5 is going to be 1988 directors Ron Howard's first real successful film, Willow. Why are you looking at me funny?
No, I figured that you'd have it.
Yeah. Warwick Davis, Val Kilmer, Joanne Whaley. It's a great movie. And I tried watching the TV show of the new one, but I had a feel, even though someone told me later on that I think I'm wrong, that Warwick Davis wasn't going to be in it very much. It seemed like they were trying to push off all these other characters on us and just use him for the poster. So I abandoned it very early on. But don't take that to this. This is a great movie. It's very caught in the 80s, but I don't think you would ever want to mess with it and update anything in it because it would take some of the charm away.
It is sweet, and charm is a perfect word for that. Do you remember where we were at when we saw it? I don't either.
I put this and another movie, and I'll make sure I didn't put it on my list before I speak about it. Okay, I didn't put it on my list. But it very reminds me of another film from the same kind of time period, and maybe it's a little bit after, but that would be Princess Bride as well. They kind of very similar to me. Very charming and sweet, but interesting and fun.
That was on my backup list. I thought about putting that on there. Yeah.
Val Kilmer, Madmartigan, such a great movie.
It is wonderful. And Warwick Davis, we talked about him, Leprechaun. I mean, he's great guy, you know.
The whole first scenes with him and the wizard and Billy Barty's in it. And the test for him to figure out which finger has the power of the wizards in it. So the test to be the wizard's apprentice is he asks them a question. He's like, okay, which finger has the power in it? And there are 4, I believe, people lined up, and they go down the line and pick a finger. So he, like, the first kid picks this finger and he puts it down. So it's like, by the time it gets to Warwick Davis, there's like 2 fingers left and he still gets it wrong. It's just a silly movie, but it's so good.
It's been way too long since I've seen it.
You should watch it.
I should.
It's on Disney.
It is.
If you have Disney, you can watch it.
I do. I have it. All right. Good.
Watch.
Good choice. All right.
I didn't realize it was Ron Howard either.
No.
In 1988, so it was pretty good.
That is good. All right. My number 4, I don't know if you've heard of it or not, is Army of Darkness.
Yes!
1982.
Wait, what? 82? Is that right? 92.
92.
Okay, scared me. I was like, wow, I didn't think it was that old.
Well, actually, I wrote down 62, so that's even worse. To write it down wrong and say it wrong.
You saw it upside down.
Yeah. It is the best in the Evil Dead, and it's really one of the greatest horror films ever made. And it is so delightful, and it all stands on the shoulders of Bruce Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he is just brilliant. And it's so many one-liners that have just become either memes or part of our, give me some sugar, baby, this is a boomstick, shop smart, shop S-smart. It's all of these things that people, I'm really surprised that there's not, have Swifties with Taylor Swift. I'm surprised that they're not Army of Darkness-ies, that folks that just...
I was just hoping
conventions.
You weren't going to land on Army of Darkies. That would have been bad.
I want a blood test. Yes, no, I have a little bit more sense than that.
Yeah, good.
A little bit more conscience and some ethics, some pride. So, no, perfect choice. I was just gigging you on it.
I figured
I'm
as much.
Surprised it wasn't higher up on your list.
Well, because it's just not as well made, I think, part of it. And because it does have the horror aspect of it too, it just weighed it down a little bit. One thing I've sort of starting to notice with these movies is they're so fantastical in the ideas that they all have to be entertaining and fun to a point. Even if they're serious movies and times, they have to be entertaining and kind of over the top and unbelievable because of the fantasy element.
Yeah, I agree.
Good. My 2 cents.
So you think my choice is good?
Yeah, I like it.
Okay.
Not bad. All right, number 4. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves from 1991.
Swords.
Hollering at my boy Alan Rickman again.
And sorcery.
You got Morgan, or you got the witch lady or whatever in there as well. I like that movie a whole lot. I thought it was directed by Kevin Costner, but it's not. I found out, unfortunately. But Morgan Freeman's in there as well. Alan Rickman, which we just talked about him last episode in the Villains episode. You can't not like this movie. You just can't.
It is. Great soundtrack, great title song, kind of Sting and some other folks that did I Do It All For You kind of thing.
Yeah, do it all for you.
Yeah, it really is a good one. It hasn't aged as well, I think, but it's. I just remember seeing it. We saw it on the big screen. I saw it on the big screen. I don't know that we saw it on the big screen.
I feel like I did though.
But the arrow, when he shoots the arrow and the camera is right, actually following the arrow, and it's like, wow, that's really cool.
You see it almost like flapping.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great movie.
It was, and Alan Rickman he really does everything he can to steal the show. So, in a very comedic way. So good.
R.I.P. Alan.
Yeah, good choice. All right. Now, here's where you might have a little problem with I'm giving you my number 3. Because it does involve sand and it does involve sandals. Kind of in a third cousin kind of way, some mystical stuff, but it's 2000's Gladiator.
Oh, I would consider that. I'd put that in there.
Oh, so I've been feeling. You make me feel like I'm gonna.
Well, you sort of threw me off there with the sandals, the sand and the sandals part. That's an aspect of it, yeah. But I would still consider it. It's Roman and gladiators, and there's the mystical elements to it. It's not as heavy-handed for sure.
Well, I grew up with this term, swords and sandals, as a genre. It wasn't until recent I even heard sword and sorcery.
Yeah, I think that the difference is just the swords and sorcery leans towards a little more towards the mystical, over the top, and you can include like monsters in there, which may not pass over into the swords and sandals as much.
Right.
But they're very, very similar, and they do cross over quite a bit.
Well, this winter cast, I mean, it really was one of Russell Crowe's best films. Joaquin Phoenix. You had Oliver Reed, and this was his last film. I think he died before it was even released, and he's a beloved actor.
Curse the Werewolf.
Yeah. I think what happened with Gladiator, you had movies like this. They were huge during the 50s and 60s kind of stuff. I remember one of the first trailers, the first trailers I saw in the Southern Theater was for, I don't even know what the movie was, but they were like a bunch of people and they were that chain mail that they have on knights and swords and stabbing people. And, that was early 60s. I think they died out. Why are you laughing about the Southern Theater?
No, I'm just laughing at your explanation in swords and stabbing people. Just your adjectives. It's just funny. It's just bad.
All right.
I'm not laughing at the Southern Theater in his childhood. He's getting defensive.
Yeah. The genre, I think, was usually viewed as more a throwaway, more beef pictures. They're not Hollywood major epics. I think they kind of died out. And what this did is it brought it back and made it special. And one of the greatest film scores, of all time in it. Epic in its scope. It's the kind of thing that you used to see with, the Gone with the Wind or Lawrence of Arabia.
It's an epic.
It is. It's just really, that's why it's my number 3.
Yep, I use that film quite a bit when I teach blocking for film, because there's a scene towards the end where Commodus stabs Russell Crowe when he's got him up like this, and I teach symbolism in where like a character stands. If you have like a camera that's pointing up, it's to make someone look imposing. Pointing down, it's to make them look small. And there's a scene where when it begins, Commodus is shot at from a high angle to look like he's defeated, and in the opposite for Russell Crowe. But as soon as he stabs him, it's a subtle switch.
Wow.
So I use that scene to talk about it, and some other stuff too. But it's a great movie, and Ridley Scott doesn't get the credit.
I think we should do a show, and maybe you should do a show on the language of film, because that very thing that you're talking about, like where the camera angles are at, how perspective, all of these kind of things that are subtle. I think that would help people. It's like Citizen Kane. I've talked about that before. People say it's the greatest film ever. I watched it and didn't think much of it until I learned how to watch it and what made it different. And I think maybe that would be interested. I bet we'll get hundreds and hundreds of views on that. I mean, seriously,
it'd be a lot of work. I'm not saying no. It wouldn't be something that would be able to turn out overnight, because I'd be afraid to say something that was wrong.
Well, but you're a smart guy. How to watch a movie? I'd click on that. Yeah. Okay.
Well, it's possible.
Okay.
Wait, is it my turn or is it your turn?
Nah, it's my turn for number.
You just did Gladiator, I thought.
Oh, you did. That's right, because you were talking about.
Oh, and what a perfect segue, Ridley Scott, for my number 3, and that is 1985's Legend.
I knew you were going to pick that.
Yeah, I've picked it before, but I could not do it. That is like a perfect 80s version of this. Just missing a dragon. Tim Curry, where you at, my boy? That is the perfect film 80s version of the devil. He's so over the top and flamboyant, but I love it. Tom Cruise. Again, Billy Barty, Mia Sara. It's a great little 80s fantasy film with goblins and pixies, and it's just it's got a little bit of everything in it for you.
I don't know why it never resonated with me.
Because probably you weren't a child in the 80s.
Well, but a lot of the films that you watched in the 80s have become beloved, like Monster Squad kind of thing. I
don't know. Maybe you have no soul.
That might be it.
You're dead behind the eyes.
It didn't do it for me. And I think I only saw it one time. Now, maybe that means what I got to do is go back and watch it again. And so,
I think I enjoy it highly.
Yep. I knew, I had a feeling that was going to be on your list.
It was hard not to put on the list.
Yeah. Did you have any idea about any films that you knew were going to be on my list?
I figured it was possible Jason and the Argonauts and Sinbad were potential to be on there, and Clash of the Titans as well. Okay. But I wasn't sure because there are a lot of those movies that you could like one of them and not the other, or you could like one of the Sinbad or one of the Jason Argonauts movies and not others.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So it's hard to put a beat on some of those.
Okay.
They're kind of similar to me to like Godzilla movies. There's just so many of them. Everybody has their favorites.
Yep. Number 2, Spartacus. I am Spartacus. First of all, I mean, Stanley Kubrick, for crying out loud. You got Dalton Trumbo was the author. I don't know if you know anything about him being blacklisted during Hollywood.
I know the name.
Yeah. Kirk Douglas, Peter Ustinov,
Kirk Douglas's chin.
Yeah. Laurence Olivier, Gene Simmons, Tony Curtis, Charles Lawton. I just said somebody that wasn't in it. Peter Ustinov. I'm thinking of another, maybe. Anyway, it is. I saw this when I was younger, and it was the first time I saw a sword and sandals kind of movie that wasn't like a kid kind of thing. And it was, but the battles, with the lions and stuff, and then later on, once I sort of had my faith experience, then you sort of see it through the Christianity lens, early Christianity, crucifixion kind of thing. It has one of the best film scores of all time, and I've been saying that a lot, but music is so important in movies, and it just really is. The previous movie I did, Gladiator, is kind of an homage in some ways. It shares some of the same DNA. When I watch Gladiator, I'm thinking, man, I'm getting all kinds of Spartacus vibes here. But it is, if you're younger and you liked Gladiator and have never watched Spartacus, give it a try. It is really good.
This is how I take that. Think if you're Ridley Scott, what's the movie that inspired you to make Gladiator? Was Spartacus.
Probably. Yeah, it's a good way of thinking about it.
It's kind of how I see it. He saw Spartacus as a kid, and this is his swing at it. It's just the updated version. They're not similar in that it's just the same movie. They're similar that it's a similar story arc of a character that's in the same place, but they're very different in how they actually do the movie.
Yeah, Spartacus is a little bit more melodramatic.
Yes,
and
it's more from the time period. as well.
Exactly, and
more of a stage play,
right? And so I think it'll be easier for you to get engaged in Gladiator than it will with Spartacus. But once you get to the meat of it, you're all in. You're hooked. Yeah,
it's a good movie. It's a really good movie.
Yeah. What's your number two? Harold and Kumar Go to Israel.
This is the most recent film on the list. And while it's not your traditional, knights from Europe, it is swords and sorcerers to the supreme. And that is 2022's The Northman, which we saw in the theater, directed by Robert Eggers. It's sort of the Viking version of this in dealing with his legacy. There's the scenes with him and Willem Dafoe as sort of I guess he's kind of like a jester and like a soothsayer at the same time. He makes him drink this stuff. It's kind of a strange scene, but I really like the miss-off that sort of hangs in the background of the whole that movie. And it's a beautiful film, well shot, well acted. And why are you looking at me like that?
It's a very brave choice.
Yeah, I'm going to smack you out of your chair.
It's
number one.
It's the Viking version.
Yeah, it is.
No, I get it. I get it. I never would have thought of it. And I know you're the one that convinced us to go and see it. We're like, yeah, you do that all the time. Oh, I really want to see this movie. You never ask me, Dad, what do you want to see?
I do. You just never have anything to see. You just want to go see things like Marvel movies and stuff.
It's a good choice. It really is. And
it's a great movie.
It's accessible, and especially from people from your generation.
Yeah, it's a Robert Eggers movie, so you got to understand this is a set designer at heart. So it's a very realistic slice in movies. But this is also the guy that's doing Nosferatu. So if you want to maybe see what that might feel like, go check it out. It's a good one. It's got Nicole Kidman in it. It's got what's his face? Ethan Hawke is in it. Alexander Skarsgård, Willem Dafoe, and then quite a few. Anya Taylor-Joy is in it as well. But it's a good one.
Yeah, good choice. I'm just not making fun.
He is.
See it. All right. We're down to the creme de la creme.
Did you have any honorable mentions before you do number one?
I think I mentioned it already.
Okay.
But yeah, did you?
I'm just making sure.
Okay. This is, we have a lot of number ones in the end of our show, and this is probably one of my favorite number ones, and it's Jason and the Argonauts. 1963. Not only is this, I think, the best sword and sandals sorcery movies, it's also just one of my favorite films of all time. I mean, this was, again, Southern Theater was a grindhouse in Columbus, Ohio when I was growing up, and we operated a business right next door. Can you imagine? You could step outside your door and you could throw a rock. You don't even throw a rock. You could like stick your hand out and you're practically at the door of a movie theater. And your parents didn't want you around, and they would give you money every day to go. And they changed the bill constantly. It was a great childhood. It really was. And I remember seeing this here. And as a child, to watch it, Ray Harryhausen, the skeleton scene in Army of Darkness is right out of this movie. There's Talos, which was a giant. I remember as a child just being fascinated. This giant metal statue that's like 3 stories high when Jason and the Argonauts wind up, on this island, and it moves kind of deal. And I'm thinking, wow, and they have to kill it. And then there's the Hydra and the Golden Fleece and things that were just, it is the same kind of special effects and monsters that they had during my number 7. But the story in this was so much more compelling. It really was. It's delightful. And please do yourself a favor and watch it. It's amazing.
Yeah, I would definitely been on my list. It's a more refined version of Sinbad and the Voyage, the 7 Voyage of the Sea, or whatever you said, what it was called. Yeah. But yeah, it's a great movie for sure. And you can see it's no, it's not, because I hadn't seen it in so long. But my number one. And shame on you. There is only number one, and you knew there's only one number one, right? What is it? There's only number one. There can be only one.
I don't know.
Lord of the Rings.
Oh.
Jiminy Cripes, my guy.
Well,
You shall not pass. Frodo is just turning over in his grave.
Well, I love the trilogy.
Apparently not enough.
I absolutely do.
Not enough sand for you? Got him.
Oh. I don't know. I never even... I considered Sauron for villain in our villain episode. But I just, something, I mean, if you look at my list, I mean, there's kind of this running theme, it's Hercules, 7th Voyage, Clash of the Titans, Jason and the Argonauts. That's all kind of from that time period of when sword and sandal movies were most prominent. And then Gladiator, Gladiator comes again and sort of repeats in the light of Spartacus. I guess I just got frozen in time and didn't move out of that.
I think what happens is, Harryhausen was using the stop action, and that's okay. But I think we hit a time period where that wasn't up to snuff any longer, so they stopped making them. And it wasn't until the technology caught up to it that they started again, which may have something to do with that.
That's a great analysis. I never thought of that. So, no, you're exactly right. And I guess if I had to go back and redo my list, would I have dropped something? Maybe 1958's Hercules, because it's not as near and dear to me as the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which are just perfect movies, all of them.
Yeah, I didn't pick one. I just used the whole trilogy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's.
But it's got everything you want in it. Literally got everything you want. There's no dragon in it, unfortunately, but there is in The Hobbit.
What's the fire thing, beast that you shall not pass?
That is the Balrog.
But isn't that kind of a dragon?
It's a demon from hell.
Oh. Where else would the demons live?
Under my bed.
Okay. Well, wasn't this special? Mm-hmm. You still love me? Thank you for taking time out of your day to be part of us. I have fun. I always have fun. I learn something every time I listen. Sometimes it's just really surprising. Sometimes it's predictable. But when it's predictable, his choices, he has a unique way of spinning them. So, if we haven't mentioned it already, like us, subscribe to us, and pass us on. To
tell your friends.
That's right.
Tell your friends' moms.
Yeah, we were on fire for a while with our episodes, and then it kind of has slowed down a little bit. And sometimes it seems like the more we divert from horror and science fiction, that people don't want to talk about just films kind of stuff or find an audience. Help us find an audience. You might have hated this episode.
I think it's a good one.
If you did, or you might hate our show. You probably know somebody that you think would like it, Tell them. Yes, exactly. Or somebody that you don't like. Say, oh man, you got to watch this show. But
got to stay to the end though.
Because it really, and the reason that I'm first of all, it's a lot of work to do this, and he really does all the heavy lifting on it. But it's also the more people that watch it, the more information that we get back, and that helps prime the pump for future episodes.
And don't be afraid
really
to comment.
Hard. Yes,
because we respond.
Yes, but we really like the comments, and we really like the input that we get from you, because then that will help us decide, okay, we need to do an episode on this or that, or
even criticism. We listen, I promise. We don't shut it off. And
like movies to watch with your dog, that kind of thing. Just interesting, unique things that the internet is crying out for.
Next one, movies to watch without your dad.
He says to his father with cancer.
Can't keep playing that card.
I know I can't. So, all right. We'll see you
at the movies.
At the movies.